every corner of the earth, across deserts, mountains, rivers, and oceans, human beings have always asked the same questions. Where did we come from? Why are we here? What happens after death? From the dawn of civilization, people have searched for meaning beyond the visible world. They looked at the rising sun, the stars at night, the birth of a child, and the stillness of death, and they wondered if there was something more, something greater than themselves. Religion arose as a way of answering those mysteries. It became not just a set of beliefs, but a way of life, a rhythm of rituals, a story passed down from one generation to the next.
Across time, voices have whispered through history, echoes of faith, myth, and mystery. From ancient temples to sacred texts, from forgotten rituals to living traditions, humanity has always searched for meaning beyond the veil of the ordinary. Here at Scared Echoes, we bring those voices back to life, exploring the stories, symbols, and secrets that shaped civilizations and still shape us today. Step into the echoes of the past. And if you seek deeper knowledge, like, share, and subscribe to join the journey.
If we begin in the Indian subcontinent, we encounter one of the oldest continuous religious traditions in the world, Hinduism. But calling Hinduism a single religion can be misleading. It is more like a vast river with many tributaries, a collection of practices, philosophies, rituals, and myths that have evolved over thousands of years. The word Hindu itself originally referred to the people living beyond the Indus River. Over time, it came to mean the religions and spiritual practices of India. Hinduism has no single founder and no fixed moment of origin. Its roots stretch back at least 5,000 years into the age of the Vedas, collections of hymns, chants, and rituals preserved by priests. From that ancient foundation, it has grown into a dazzling diversity of beliefs. And yet, certain themes and ideas run throughout. One of the most important is karma, the law of cause and effect. Every action, every thought carries consequences, shaping not only this life, but the lives to come. Closely tied to karma is dharma, one's duty, the role and responsibility each person must fulfill in society and in life. To follow your dharma is to live in harmony with the universe. To ignore it is to invite disorder.
This cycle of cause and effect plays out across lifetimes. In Hindu thought, the soul, or Atman, is eternal. When the body dies, the soul is reborn in a new form. This endless wheel of birth, death, and rebirth is called samsara. But samsara is not the goal. The highest aim is to escape it, to achieve moksha, liberation from the cycle, and to merge the individual soul back into the ultimate reality. That ultimate reality is known as Brahman, infinite, eternal, and beyond description. Everything in the universe is an expression of Brahman. And yet, Hindus often approach the divine through countless gods and goddesses, each representing aspects of the whole. There is Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, who sometimes descends to earth in human form, as Rama or Krishna, and Shiva, the destroyer and transformer, who dances the cosmic dance of creation and destruction. There is Durga, the fierce mother who protects her children, and Ganesha, the elephant-headed patron of wisdom and good fortune. For Hindus, worship can take many forms: rituals in temples, offerings at shrines, chants and prayers at home. Sacred texts such as the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Ramayana offer wisdom and stories that guide believers on their path. Some Hindus practice yoga as a spiritual discipline, a way of uniting body, mind, and spirit with the divine. Others devote themselves to meditation, chanting, or acts of service.
But underlying all of this is a deep conviction that the universe is one,
and that all living beings are connected within it. To live well is to live in harmony with that unity. Today, Hinduism is the third largest religion in the world, with over 1 billion followers. Most live in India and Nepal, but Hindu communities exist across the globe, carrying with them traditions of music, festivals, and philosophy. And whether through the bright colors of Holi, the lights of Diwali, or the quiet recitation of mantras, Hindus continue to celebrate the mystery of the divine presence in all things.
Now let us journey westward across mountains and deserts to the ancient lands of the Near East. About 4,000 years ago, a new idea began to take root, an idea that would shape not only one people, but the future of the world. That idea was monotheism, the belief in one single, all-powerful God. According to Jewish tradition, this story begins with Abraham and Sarah. Living in the land of Mesopotamia, they were called by God to leave their home and journey to a new land, Canaan, the land that would one day be called Israel. God promised them descendants as numerous as the stars and a land of their own in return for their faithfulness to Him. In a world filled with gods of sun, storm, and harvest, this was revolutionary. One God above all others, unseen yet present in history, guiding and commanding. From that covenant, the sacred agreement between God and His people, Judaism was born. Yet the path was not simple. Abraham's descendants, the Israelites, faced hardship and exile. According to tradition, they were enslaved in Egypt until God raised up a prophet, Moses, to lead them to freedom. Through Moses, they received the Torah, the law, including the 10 Commandments, which set out how God's people were to live. No longer was religion just a matter of sacrifices and rituals. It became a way of life, a code of justice, compassion, and holiness.
The land of Israel became their home, but history brought challenges. Armies marched through this crossroads of the ancient world: Babylonians, Persians, Greeks, and Romans. In the year 70 CE, the Romans destroyed the great temple in Jerusalem, the heart of Jewish worship. Without the temple, Judaism transformed itself. Sacrifices ended, but the faith endured, shifting from a temple-based religion to a religion of the book. That book is the Hebrew Bible, or Tanakh, which includes the Torah, the prophets, and the writings, stories of creation, Exodus, kings, and prophets, filled with poetry, law, and vision. Alongside the Bible, scholars and rabbis preserved centuries of commentary and debate in the Talmud, a vast collection of interpretation and discussion. For Jews, the study of these texts is not just about learning history, it is a sacred act, a way of encountering the voice of God. Daily life became filled with reminders of faith. Meals, prayers, rituals, and festivals carry symbolic meaning. At Passover, families gathered to remember the Exodus from Egypt. Each food on the table tells part of the story. Bitter herbs for the bitterness of slavery, unleavened bread for the haste of escape, wine for the joy of freedom. At the coming-of-age ceremonies of bar mitzvah for boys and bat mitzvah for girls, young people accept responsibility for their actions and their role in the Jewish community.
Today, there are around 14 million Jews worldwide. About 6 million live in Israel, while nearly 5 million live in the United States, with others scattered in communities around the globe. Judaism is both a religion and a people, tied not only by faith, but by memory, history, and tradition.
Let us return now to India, around 2,500 years ago, to the life of a young prince named Siddhartha Gautama. His story begins in a palace where every luxury surrounded him. His father, hoping to shield him from suffering,
kept him within the palace walls, away from sickness, old age, and death. But one day, Siddhartha ventured beyond those walls, and what he saw changed his life forever. He encountered for the first time the realities of the human condition: an old man, bent and frail, a sick man, writhing in pain, a corpse, lifeless and still, and finally, a wandering holy man who owned nothing yet radiated peace. Siddhartha realized that suffering is inescapable, and he resolved to discover why life was filled with such pain and whether there was a way to end it. He left behind his palace, his wealth, and even his family, choosing instead the life of a seeker. At first, he pursued extreme self-denial, fasting until he grew weak, sleeping on the ground and punishing his body. But this path only brought him closer to death, not to truth. Then, one day, Siddhartha overheard a musician teaching, "If the string is too tight, it will break. If it is too loose, it will not play." In that moment, he understood that the answer lay not in extremes, but in balance, what he would later call the middle way. Siddhartha sat in meditation beneath a Bodhi tree, vowing not to rise until he found the truth. Through deep concentration, he confronted the illusions of the mind and the cravings of the body. At dawn, enlightenment came. He realized that all life is marked by suffering, that suffering arises from selfish desire and detachment, that suffering can end, and that there is a path to its end. From that day forward, Siddhartha became the Buddha, the awakened one.
Buddhism also shaped art, culture, and philosophy across Asia. Great temples and statues, from the serene Buddhas of Thailand to the giant carvings of China, became symbols of peace and contemplation. Today, there are nearly 1 billion Buddhists worldwide, mostly in Asia, but increasingly in the West as well.
2,000 years ago, in the land once promised to Abraham's descendants, another faith began to take shape. It grew out of Judaism, but it carried a message that would eventually spread across the entire globe. At its center was a man named Jesus of Nazareth. According to Christian tradition, his birth was announced by the angel Gabriel to a young woman named Mary. She would bear a son, conceived not through human will, but as a gift of God. That son, Jesus, grew up in the humble town of Nazareth, raised by Mary and her husband Joseph. For years he lived quietly as a carpenter. Then, around the age of 30, he began his public life, a mission that would last only a few years, but leave an eternal mark. Jesus taught not as a scholar or a priest, but with an authority that stirred the hearts of ordinary people. He healed the sick, welcomed the poor, ate with outcasts, and spoke in parables, simple stories with profound meaning. His vision of God was not distant or stern, but loving, merciful, and close, like a father who cares for every child. He called this vision the kingdom of God, not a kingdom of palaces and armies, but a community built on justice, forgiveness, and love.
Religious authorities feared his challenges to tradition. Political rulers saw him as a threat. After only 3 years of teaching, Jesus was arrested. The Roman authorities sentenced him to death, and he was executed by crucifixion, a brutal punishment reserved for rebels and criminals. For most, that might have been the end. But according to his followers, something extraordinary happened. Only days after his burial, women came to his tomb and found it empty. They declared that Jesus had risen from the dead, appearing to them alive once more. For them, this was proof that death had been conquered, that Jesus was not only a teacher, but the very Son of God, the Word made flesh. From this belief grew the faith known as Christianity. Today, Christianity is the world's largest religion, with over 2 billion followers. From small village churches to vast urban cathedrals, from quiet prayers to joyful songs.
About 14 centuries ago, in the vast deserts of Arabia, another faith took shape. It began with a man named Muhammad, born in the city of Mecca. He grew up an orphan, earning a reputation for honesty as a merchant. But more than wealth or status, Muhammad sought truth. He would often retreat into the mountains, spending nights in a cave, meditating in silence. One night, as he prayed, a voice broke through the stillness. The angel Gabriel appeared, commanding him to recite. Frightened, Muhammad at first resisted, but the words came, powerful and unforgettable. Verses that spoke of the one true God, Allah, creator of heaven and earth. Over the next 23 years, more revelations followed, delivered to Muhammad and memorized by his followers. These verses would later be gathered into the Quran, Islam's holy book. The Quran is considered by Muslims not the words of Muhammad, but the very speech of God, perfect and unaltered. The word Islam itself means submission or surrender to God's will. A follower of this path is a Muslim, one who submits. But submission does not mean despair. It means living in harmony with the purpose of creation, guided by God's mercy and justice.
The core of Muslim practice is described in the 5 pillars of Islam. The first is the Shahada, the declaration of faith. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. The second is Salat, the rhythm of 5 daily prayers, each performed facing Mecca, uniting Muslims around the world in devotion. The third is Zakat, charity, requiring Muslims to give a portion of their wealth to the poor, reminding them that all possessions are entrusted by God. The fourth is Saum, fasting during the holy month of Ramadan. From dawn to sunset, Muslims refrain from food and drink, focusing instead on prayer, discipline, and compassion for those in need. The fifth is Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca. At least once in a lifetime, if able, every Muslim is called to walk in the footsteps of Abraham, circling the Kaaba, the sacred cube-shaped shrine at the heart of Islam's holiest city.
Today, it is the second largest religion in the world, with over 1.5 billion followers. From the call to prayer echoing across cities, to the quiet recitation of Quranic verses at home, Muslims strive to remember God in every moment.